Welcome to the Activation Phase podcast. I'm JP. I'm joined by Tim. We're talking about Sassanids on a purely theoretical level today. Tim,
kind of, almost.
All right, you have a little bit of experience.
Right.
I have none whatsoever. So, I'm leaning on my theoretical knowledge, and you're leaning on your practical knowledge. So, Tim, kick it off.
Right. So I think we should talk about the war gear first, because I think it's interesting. Because the Warlord and the Hearthguard, they can take cataphracts, which are back. They're back, which is really cool.
So maybe we should just talk about for people who haven't picked up the Age of Invasions yet.
Right.
The cataphract basically means that the armor is mounted armor is 5 in melee and against shooting. However, the downside is movement is reduced to M. However, a charge is still L.
And when I played them, I think they're kind of hard to play because they're not as easy to get into like position as normal horses, but they're also not as vulnerable. So I like cataphracts. They're right. But yeah, if you want to outmaneuver your opponent, it's that makes it more difficult for sure.
Yeah, and they need to take cataphract armor. You have absolutely no choice in this.
Yep.
So that's kind of a downside if you're facing someone who doesn't have a lot of shooting.
Yeah, in the game I played, my enemy didn't have any shooting, so the cataphract armor was just a heavy burden, literally. So didn't like it. Next up, the warriors. They have horses, and they need to have horses, so a very mounted faction. And they can have composite bows, which are amazing with Sassanids and with the board. They have elephants and levies, and the levies can have bows and no gear at all. So, and I don't think you want to almost ever take levies with no gear, because this is a very, very shooty faction. Basically every ability on the battleboard is about shooting, and it's I have never seen a faction that can buff shooting like this. So it's insane. Have you seen something like this?
I haven't looked at the battleboard, so no. No, I'm kidding. No, I have. I think it's kind of on par maybe with the pagan peoples in terms of shooting. So I think this is kind of what I wished the Huns would be in terms of shooting. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, but I mean, what the Huns can't do in shooting, they have in like moving and outmaneuvering and stuff, because the Sassanids really don't have any of that. They just shoot well and they fight well, and that's all they do. They don't they have no ability to move. They have nothing like that. They're very limited on the actual action, on shooting and on melee.
Yeah, fair enough.
Which is hard.
And I think probably the interesting thing here is the first use of elephants outside of Age of Hannibal as well. So I think if you want a warband that's has like fancy gear, previously you could take the Picts with the chariot and the Romans with the maniballista, and now you can have a fancy elephant. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And talking about the elephant, the Sassanid board is probably the board that best supports elephants I've ever seen, because you have an ability that's an Orders reaction ability that takes 1 fatigue away from elephants, or like units without ranged weapons, which is just huge, because after your turn you can still have that dice on and remove one of the fatigues from the elephant, make him a little more tough, make it possible for the elephant to go in. And the other abilities as well, they are made for elephants. Like I think four abilities on the battleboard are they're just made for elephants. So you need to be Hearthguard or elephant to use them, or you don't. You need to it's just you can't have ranged weapons to use many abilities on the board. And basically every unit that you want to play, levies with bows or like warriors with composite bows, they all have ranged weapons. So elephants are kind of good. Really kind of good.
So the summary here is you want to elephant max this faction.
Yeah, you do.
6 elephants. You heard it here first.
No, I play 2 elephants in my game, and I think they're good, but you can totally play 3. And I felt that because my 2 elephants, they didn't survive enough, but I think 3 elephants do the trick, and I think they have potential.
Yeah, that actually now it sounds a lot better because it means I could paint a faction and just with 3 elephants and I'd already be halfway done. So I think this is
Right.
starting to be more interesting to me. You're
Right.
selling it to me here because at first I was thinking,
Yeah.
oh, it's going to be guys on horses. I've already got lots of guys on horses. I don't enjoy painting guys on horses, so I'm not going to do it. But now you're starting to persuade me a little bit here. All right, so I think that's the war gear. Let's talk about the battle board.
Yeah. One of the coolest abilities, or like one of the strongest abilities, is probably Shadow in the East. It takes 1 common and 1 uncommon die, and you get 3 attacks and +1 bonus to your attack dice in shooting. That's just huge. Like it's like the crossbow +1, which is just really good, and you get 3 attack dice as well. So this makes it really, really good for sniping Hearthguard if you get the chance. If you shoot at Hearthguard, they are mounted. They're just they won't survive. It's such a good ability. You just Shadow in the East, probably my favorite ability on this board.
So what would you play that with Levy or mounted warriors?
Right.
Because I guess you're capping out at the kind of because you're not getting bonus dice. You're getting just normal attack dice.
You could get 6 attack dice from shoot. Yeah, you could get 8, and then go up to 16. But I don't see anything on the board that would make you make that possible. So you will either shoot with a composite bow unit of 12 composite bow, or with a levy unit of 12 bows. So that's 6 shots, and you get 3 extra attack dice from Shadow in the East. And combat bonus, I think, might be worth it here if you have the extra die. Just put it into your combat bonus for 1 extra attack. I think that's huge here, actually. And all right, my favorite combo on the battle board is a Shadow in the East, which is the 3 extra attack dice and bonus to your attack dice. With Ahriman's Curse. Ahriman's Curse does the following. The enemy unit suffers a -1 penalty to its defense dice. If you use a rare, they also gain no benefit from cover. So that's also in shooting. In my game, when I played, I had a unit of Hearthguard just hiding in solid cover. So which means that if I didn't use Ahriman's Curse, I would hit them on 6s and they would save on 3s. But because I used Ahriman's Curse with a rare, I was hitting them on 5s and they were saving on 5s, which is huge. It's just huge.
Yeah, otherwise you wouldn't even bother targeting them,
Yeah.
to be honest. And now they're
you wouldn't. You would never. Like combined with the Shadow in the East, you hit them on 4s and they save on 5s. It's just like no one's safe with this board in shooting. The Sassanids are the master of shooting. There's nothing that compares to it.
Yeah, I'm looking at this from the picked point of view, and there you have a few abilities that make things into solid cover, and then you can basically hide your warband in that piece of terrain.
Yeah,
this is looking kind of like the anti-picked. However, like you're not playing the most historically accurate matchup, but still, like it could happen. So yeah, that's looking pretty scary as well. Let's maybe go through the battle board in terms of how would you build Warband, and then we know based on that we can talk about which abilities support that particular build. So how would you run a Warband?
Right, I can tell you how I ran my Warband in my game. I used 1.5 points of Hearthguard on horses with Cataphract. I used 1.5 points of warriors on horses with composite bows. I used 2 elephants and 1 unit of bow levies. So that's 6 points. And I ran them as a Hearthguard unit of 6 and a warrior unit of 12. I had 6 Saga dice, which is, it's alright, I think, because the Sassanid board is not that dice hungry. It's alright, you can totally play it with 6 dice. And with that warband in mind, the second wind ability that takes fatigue from a friendly unit without ranged weapons or elephants was just, yeah, I think I played that almost every turn because you just send your elephant in, they do some damage, maybe they kill like half a unit, and then you just take the fatigue from the elephant before the enemy gets to strike back, which is just amazing. And there's also the armored ability, which I think is it's boring. It's really boring actually. It's just called armored, and it costs a common and an uncommon die, and it just increases your unit's armor by 1 if you're hero, Hearthguard, or elephant. So that also supports your elephant. So you can make your elephants like unkillable, kind of, which is just amazing.
Yeah, I guess you have the combination of removing the fatigue in your opponent's phase.
Yeah.
Or in your phase if they decide not to do anything.
Yeah.
In addition to resting in your phase as well. So I think the elephant killer really is more the fatigue than anything else that you can do to it.
Agree.
So this is a pretty good wave. First of all, with armored, making sure they don't get any additional fatigue. Or have to use a resilience, and then the second wind really just kind of gives you a fresh elephant ready to crush some people.
Yeah. I mean, they basically like they shed 2 fatigues a turn, right? If you activate them for rest and use second wind, which is just huge. That's like 4 wounds to go through. And another ability I think is amazing for elephants is the defensive posture. That just costs a common, and you have to discard 2 attack dice to gain 4 defense dice. So the elephant only has 5 attack dice anyway, and 2 auto hits. So I don't think it's too bad to put away like 2 more attack dice. That's quite alright for me at least. And gaining another 4 defense dice, like the elephant will not die. It's just a tank, and that guy just will not die. This Warband is really, really good at shooting and at being tanky.
Yeah, it looks pretty nice. I like the volley fire as well. So that's orders phase. So you choose unit equipped with composite bows. So that would just be that 12 unit of 12 warriors.
Yeah.
Until the start of your next turn, it counts as being equipped with bows, and it gains the determination special rule. So you spend a dice. You do get kind of like a move free. I guess you would have to activate it to shoot though, since it has bows instead of composite bows now. But yeah, you can move 12 and then shoot 12. That's pretty good. So that completely changes the style from having to get up close with your composite bows, and also a kind of a unit of 12 warriors with composite bows is a little bit unwieldy also to get in close to someone.
For sure, yeah.
So I think this just makes it even if you play this one, essentially you spend a dice, and if they don't want to move, you can just shoot perfectly well, not get a fatigue, shoot with determination. So yeah, this is I think that's a pretty interesting twist to changing the way a unit completely functions.
Yeah, and talking about volley fire, we need to talk about the Flames of Atar ability, which is a activation reaction, and it costs a rare. But it lets you activate a unit to shoot. So once an enemy activates a unit, but before they move or charge or whatever they do, if you use volley fire and like let your dudes get off their horses, they get a range of L to shoot. And if the enemy wants to get close now, you can just play Flames of Atar and have kind of like an Overwatch. You just shoot into them before they can get to you, and your shots have a distance of like a range of L, which is just, it's a really cool way of like you run up, you like dismount, you shoot, and then next turn you can run away if you want to. I think that's
that's
until
really the start
cool.
of your next turn as well. The volley fire counts as you having bows, so it's pretty good. So you can stay outside of the L and still or stay outside of M and still enjoy the Flames of Atar effect.
I mean, nothing stops you to play Flames of Atar and use the other 2 shooting abilities, a Shadow in the East and Araman's Curse, in the enemy's turn as well. So like if the enemy decides it's time to attack now, you have the opportunity to shoot them with like the most busted shooting abilities that I know in Saga. So I think that's really impressive. Like the shooting is really impressive.
Yeah, that looks pretty good actually. Some interesting combos. What would you do with the levy? Are they just a platform for using Shadow in the East?
Yes, that's what I played them like. I think they do well as a platform for that. They you just move them forward slowly, and if the enemy gets too close, you just stop walking and keep on pushing the elephants forward. They make it very easy to use a Shadow in the East and Araman's Curse every turn, so I think they're a staple of the Sassanid Warband. But you could try to play it without them and just take 1 more elephant if you wanted to. But I think you need the levies to make sure that you get Shadow in the East and Araman's Curse off every turn for that extra juicy damage.
And then what abilities support your 1.5 point of Hearthguard?
Right. There's the Inexorable Advance ability, which is for elephants or Hearthguard. And that's one of these weird abilities that you roll dice for each enemy unit within like S of your own unit. And you roll two dice if your unit is a Hearthguard unit. And if your if your dice roll is higher than the enemy's shooting armor, they just take casualty, which is, I don't like these kinds of abilities. I don't think they're almost really good, but yeah, they're alright. But they work really well with Hardcut because elephants only get you could roll 1 die per enemy unit and not 2 per enemy unit like Hearthguard do. And also there's an ability called Great Deeds, which is a melee ability. And it says if unit has no ranged weapons, it gains 4 attack dice. Otherwise, it gains 2 defense dice. So I think that's one uncommon for 4 attack dice with your Hearthguard. I think that's good. Like that's kind of good. If you my 6-pack just would have had 16 attack dice, which I think is all right.
Yeah, it's pretty. I like the odds of 16 attack dice. I think that's a good one, and I think it's also nice, especially with shooting factions, to have like a little bit of a
punch,
kind of, yeah, like a hammer unit to kill off the stuff that's not worth shooting. So especially because you don't end up having kind of one big block of warriors that does a lot of the heavy lifting for shooting, and your levy. Then I guess it's not worth shooting like 1 or 2 stragglers to get them off the board. So I think just mopping up with your Hearthguard is always a good good way. Yeah, no, that's pretty cool. So you've convinced me. I'll buy some Sassanids. So what kind of miniatures are on the market?
Right, we've talked about historical accuracy before, and as I said, I think it's important to have like a proper look, but I don't really care if the belt buckle is the right one or the helmet strap is the correct one. So Sassanids are the successors to Persians, and therefore I use the Persian miniatures for them. They look perfectly fine. I talked to a friend of mine who is very into those and did a lot of research, and he was like, yeah, they didn't change their gear much. You're fine if you want to play them. The Persians as the Sassanids. The only thing that changed was the cataphract armor. So I bought the Wargames Atlantic Persians and the Victrix Persians because Victrix just has a huge range of Persians which do very well as Sassanids. Yeah, but I like plastics, and I know you don't like plastics. So what else is out there?
No, I'm fine with plastics. I think it's good to have the options anyway.
Right.
It definitely makes it a lot more affordable. If you can, I'm just wondering what units is there an actual cataphract Persian cavalry kit?
No, there's not. Not that I know of. Like I 3D printed mine.
All right. Okay. That's for those without 3D printers, maybe that's a little bit of an issue, but I think you probably can get away with some of the Persian riders and put them on like the Fireforge plastic Byzantines or something.
Yeah.
If you're not super bothered about the most historically accurate mismatch, but I think like people will understand what that unit is. So if you're desperate for that, then there's an option.
Right.
Yeah, on the metal side, Gripping Beast has released a range of Sassanids. I think they have every single option, and so that's purely metals. I think if you're looking at the website, I actually quite like the models. Like the look a little bit the typical Beast style, actually, with a little bit chunkier.
Right.
But I think they're cool. I wouldn't mind painting those up. And a very nice one as well is the Aventine miniatures. So I've heard that they may have been taken out of rotation while the molds are redone and cleaned. But I think those will probably be returning shortly, especially with the increased demand for Sassanids. But there, essentially, you have every single option as well. You have very nice cataphract models. I think they have a cataphract commander, which is probably one of the coolest miniatures out there. So if you haven't checked that one out, just consider that as a commander. I think you'll be very happy. But those are the main ones I know about. I think they're probably relatively underserved compared to some of the other factions.
For sure.
But I think it gives you a pretty nice way of painting a color for Warband as well, because you risk some of the European factions to be a little bit more drab, and here you can kind of go nuts on colors and patterns and stuff like that. So I think that's always a nice little painting challenge.
And there's another like big bonus, I think. If you're not that huge on historical accuracy, you could totally play them as Persians. And I know that Persians are not out yet, but we got a little tease the last few days by Studio Tomahawk themselves about the new Age of Alexander book, and they even had some battleboards on there and on their pictures and armies. And if it is the Age of Alexander, then there will be Persians, because that was just, those two can't go without each other. So if this is coming out, then you can totally use your Sassanids as Persians as well.
Okay, I think that's a really good way of moving to the next topic, which is some of these teaser pictures that Studio Tomahawk has put on their website the last day or so. So they showed essentially, I think it was 2 or 3 pictures. It looks like it's Indians versus some form of Macedonians.
Yeah.
I see there's quite a large debate around this in the comments. So maybe let's summarize this. I also see a lot of chariots and a lot of elephants on the board.
Right, and I'm going to take those away from you. So that's probably the Indian side, which has chariots. Like, they have 2 chariots. One would probably be the warlock. We don't know. They have 3 elephants, which is amazing, huge, and they have what looks like is 12 levy javelins, 12 levy bowmen, and 12 levy slingers. We don't know if any of those are like mercenaries or something, but we have those. And then there's 8 warriors on horseback running around as well for the Indians. So that's quite the army. I like that the levies have that many different wargear options. We'll have to see if that's actually like their own wargear options, or if that's if those are mercenaries. We just don't know yet.
Yeah, does this look like an epic saga size? It looks a little bit small for that, but maybe the agreed points value is creeping up towards 8 points for both Age of Hannibal and Age of Alexander.
Yeah, so we'll have to see about that. So what's on the other side?
On the Macedonian side, there seems to be 1 elephant, 2 chariots, 2 times 12 phalangites, which looks like warriors, 8 cavalry, and that seems to be a pretty balanced warband, with also the interesting addition of an elephant. I wasn't really expecting to see an elephant in the Macedonian army, but
Me neither.
I'm not an expert in that time period, so it's cool.
But if they have an elephant, the chances are high that that's not actually like Macedonians. That's probably like successors, right? Because those guys had elephants.
All right.
So that would be my guess, or like the Facebook people's guess, I guess.
All right. So, I will delegate this to people who are more knowledgeable. But, so I guess we can move on to which factions do you think will be included in the Age of Alexander?
Right. So for the time period, there should be something with Alexander or his successor. So that we know there's Indians, and my guess is there will be Persians, and there were many other like important factions, and one of the biggest guesses is that there will be like Thracians, but we don't know if that's actually the case. That's just Facebook people guessing at it.
All right, so Thracians are the Balkan people, and then I guess who became probably the Dacians or something.
Yeah, they did.
Okay, and then so they're not the same as the Scythians, because the Scythians are kind of like your Huns before Huns were cool.
Right. Yeah.
All right, so I guess we've got Macedonians, successors, Indians, Thracians, Scythians. It's up to 5.
And Persians. Don't forget the Persians. We're talking about Sassanids. You cannot forget about the Persians.
That's correct. So Persians were up to 6. And then I think that's kind of the accepted number of battle boards for that age period now. So
yeah.
We got it covered. You heard it here first.
Yep. We know it for sure.
We know it for sure.
The Indian battleboard uses the Carthaginian dice, and the Macedonian successor, I think the battleboard does the same Macedonian if we like really zoom into it. So yeah, those use the Greek dice. So
get ahead of the crowd and just stock up on dice. All right, that's it for this episode. Next episode, what we have on the books is talking about the Goths and also the Lombards. Probably the coolest faction out there. Spoiler alert. So you'll get a very unbiased view of that faction next time. Thank you very much for listening, and speak to you soon.
Goodbye.